All right, and I'm alive again, and let's go back to whatever I was doing. So I'm going to share my screen, and we're going to keep going on cloning color switch using Unity. Now, as you can see, this is what we have so far. We have a sphere, and we have a floor, and we have some kind of a block here. And whenever I press play, the sphere is automatically going down, but if I press on the button, I see that it's moving up, okay? So we have gravity used here, and we can actually push it up. Now, it's going down a little bit too slow, so I can add some gravity to this to make it better, but these are just tweaks that we can do later on, so we don't really have to do it now. But just for the sake of it, I'm going to do a gravity scale of 1.5, and now things are going to go down a little bit faster. That's one way to do this. As you can, yeah, it looks a lot better already. Another way to do it also is to play with the mass. But anyway, so the next thing we want to do is introduce colors to this. Now, right now, the sphere is all white, but in the game, the sphere is never just white. It's either blue, yellow, purple, green, or orange, or things like that. So we need to work on the colors. Now, if I select the sphere, I see that the sphere has a sprite renderer. So I can just click on the color of the sprite renderer and change this to any color, and the sphere changes color automatically. So it's exactly what we need. So I need to play with the color here. All right. And something else I could do is play with the colors of the objects that are around, such as, let's say, the rectangle here. I can take the sprite renderer and change the color as well. So I can easily do that. However, there's one problem here, is that I don't know which color I can use or not. So I'm going to need to be able to create some kind of an array or collection of colors to be used, and these colors should randomly be selected. But before even doing so, let me change the background color from this bluish color to a black color so that it's easier to see. And in order to do so, I need to go to the settings, probably of the camera. Yep, if you select the camera or the main camera, you can see that the background is blue, and you can select the color and change it to black. All right, it looks a lot better already. Cool. Now, next step is to actually move from there and add different colors. And in order to do so, I want to create an object that will control the whole scene. And I'm going to call this one a manager. So I'm going to click on game object and then create an empty game object. Here we go. And I'm going to call this one manager. All right. And the manager, we have a reference to multiple things in the game, such as the player score, the actual sphere, the player, and many other different things around, and that we can always have reference inside of the manager. So I'm going to click add component on the manager and add a new script. So I'm going to click on new script, and I'm going to name this one manager references, so that it keeps all the references, and create and add. Here we go. Now I'm going to double click on the manager references, and all the way up top, I'm going to add a reference to the sphere, which is the main player. Public game object, and that would be the sphere. So player sphere. Okay, so that's how I'm going to reference the sphere. All right. Or player circle, it's up to you. I'm going to save that. And now I'm going to assign it. So it's going to appear right here in the player sphere under the player manager references. And I'm going to take the sphere and drag and drop it inside of the manager reference player sphere. There, now we have access to it. And the next step I want to do is create a list of different colors that can be used. And I can do this inside of the player sphere. And I can do it right here inside of the game, right below the game object that we just created. And that's going to be an array of colors. Public game object. And then I'm going to call this one array of colors, for example, or just colors. These are the colors that can be used within the game. And to make sure it's an array, I have to open and close the brackets. Okay, now I can save this. And if I go back to Unity, I will see the reference to it that appears. Here we go, colors. I'm going to open it and put a size of, let's say, 5, so that I have 5 different colors. All right, so this has 5 elements because these are game objects, but that's not what I want. I don't want game objects, I want colors. So I'm going to change game object to colors. And here we can type, I believe it's just color. There we go. Public color, colors. Now I can save this. And the beauty of Unity is that by doing this, this will change to colors. And I can actually pick the colors that I want. Okay, so I'm going to click on the first one, the color picker, and I'm going to select a new color. I'm going to go, and the first one will be completely red. Okay, so all the way 25500, that's red. The second color that I'm going to take, it's going to be yellow. I'm going to select a yellowish color. That's good. Then the next one will be green. So I'm going in the green area and select a green, and then I'm going to take a blue. All right, and finally I'm going to take purple. Okay, purple. All right, so now I have a bunch of different colors, and 5 colors will do just fine to start the game, and it's easy to see them. Don't forget to save. And now I need to assign colors to objects. And the first thing is that we want the ball, the sphere, the player, to have a random color to start with. And the random color that it will start with will be taken from this array. So let's go to MonoDevelop. And what we're going to do actually is from the player sphere, we're going to assign a new color right at the beginning. So in the sphere, select the sphere and go in the player script. Double click on the player script. And inside of the start, we're going to create or set up the color. So let's create a new method called setup color, or setup initial color, so that we know it's the first color. Right? And right now we don't have the method, so we're just going to create it after the fixed update and do void setup initial color. And now we're going to pick up a color from the array of the manager reference. So we need a reference to the manager reference. How do we do this? Well, let's get the script. So manager references refs is equal to game object dot find. We're going to find the manager object. So dot find manager dot get component, and the component is the manager references component. Open and close the parentheses and put a semicolon at the end. That's it. So now we have a reference to refs, and just to make sure it's not empty, we do if refs is different than null to make sure we have it. Then we can say we can get an initial color. We can say let's get the number of colors. So int colors count is equal to refs dot colors. So that's the array dot length. Okay, and when you get the length here, it says how many you have. And now let's get a random color. How do we get a random color? Well, we do int random color is equal to random. So we're going to first a random index. So let's get a random index. So random index is equal to random dot range. So we're going to take a range between 0 and the max color, which would be colors count. Now we're going to do -1 because it's inclusive. So -1. All right. And now it's going to pick up a color between 0 and the max of number of colors. So the reason why we're doing this, getting the length, is that if somehow in the future you decide to add more colors, this will be taken care into account. All right. Now that we have a random index, we can get the color. So color new color is equal to refs dot colors. Open the bracket to put the index of the random index. Random index. All right. And the random index is lowercase r. Okay, here we go. And now we have a color. So let's assign it to this object. How do we assign it to this object? Well, we need to get the component that changes the color. And if you take a look at the sphere, the component is the sprite renderer. So we need to get the sprite renderer and change its color attribute. Okay, so let's do get component sprite renderer dot color is equal to, and now we put the new color. All right, and that's it. Now we can save this, and this is supposed to work right away. So if we go back to Unity, every time we're going to press play, it's going to change color. So I'm going to press play and take a look at the sphere. Right now, the color is green. I know because I can see it here, but somehow we don't see it here. So something is going on here that it's not applying. So we need to figure this out, okay? All right. And let's see what will be the next one. If I press play again, okay, the color is also a different color. Now, the reason why this might not work is that because the alpha is at 0. So we need to make sure that the alpha goes all the way to 255. All right? So let's go ahead and do that. Well, we can do get color. I'm sorry. So we're going to actually get the component. That's probably the easiest way. So I'm going to cut this and do sprite renderer and call it renderer is equal to get component sprite renderer and semicolon. Now I can do renderer dot color is equal to new color, and then renderer dot color dot a is equal to 1. Now, sometimes we cannot assign it straight here. I need to create a new color, but let's give it a shot like that. All right. So I'm going to save it. Don't forget to save. Go back to Unity, and then I have some problems here. It says that consider storing the value in a temporary variable. Okay, I cannot modify the value a straight, and that's exactly what I thought. I cannot do this straight. So the best way is to remove that and create a new color from that. Now, how do we do this? Well, it's either we do that, or maybe if we go back to Unity and we take a look at the colors that are stored in the manager, maybe the problem is that we don't have an alpha and we need to add the alpha. So let's take a look at the colors here. And yes, that's exactly what the problem is. You see that the alpha is at 0? Take it all the way to 255, okay? All the way there. And do the same for all the colors here, okay? And that's what's going on. So select them all and move it up. Okay, so I don't know why by default Unity put the alpha at 0, but we should not. We should have the alpha at 1 so that you can see it. All right. Now, let's press play and let's take a look at it. All right, we have a green color. Now I'm going to press play again and show you that it just picks random colors. Now it's blue, and if I keep going, it just go ahead and and take random colors. So that's exactly what we want here. Perfect. Now we are done with the colors here. And as you can see, even though it changes color, I can still play with it. That's not a problem. As you can see, it works perfectly, okay? So I can play with it. Excellent. Now, the next step is to add obstacles so that it can only go through the obstacles that are the right color. How do we do this? Well, we already have one obstacle here. And what we want to add is a line of obstacles. Right now, I have one, but I'm going to create a new one. So I'm going to create an empty game object. So game object, create empty. All right, and I'm going to create a horizontal bar for the obstacle, and I'm going to call this one horizontal bar. There we go. Now that I have it, I need to take the rectangle, which is the red rectangle, and put it inside. All right, and I'm going to rename this rectangle to red rectangle. Okay, and what I want to do is make it a lot thinner. How do I do this? Well, I just have to change the scale on the y-axis. Okay, as you can see, if I take a scale to be 0.3, that looks pretty good. Now you can leave the scale at 1, 1. Okay, great. But I want to put the position of this at 0, 0, 0. Okay, 0, 0, 0. And what I want to do is only move the horizontal bar up and down with the y-axis. And I'm going to move it right there. Okay. Now, the next step is to be able to duplicate this bar. But before I even do so, what I want to do is add a rigid body on this. A box collider, so that we know whenever we collide with it. So how do we do this? Well, what we can do is select the red rectangle and add a box collider by clicking on Add Component. And then here you can just type Box Collider. Here it is, but take the 2D one. It's a 2D game. There we go. You can always go to the scene and see that we have a box collider that's around it, and it's exactly what we want. It's perfectly around the bar. Good. Now what we want, if I press play, there's one problem, is that the object will not go through it because we just created, see, it's like blocking there because it's a physical object now. And that's not what we want. We want the object to go through it. And to be able to go through it, we need to click on the box collider 2D is trigger. And now I can go through it. Check this out. I'm going to press play, and this goes through the object. All right, excellent. However, something else that's missing is that I want to know whenever this object collides with the other. And since we added a trigger, we can add a script that checks if this gets triggered against the other collider. And what I want to do first is select the sphere and add a tag to it. So select the tag here and add a new tag called player. Actually, the tag should already be there because by default, Unity knows that you're making games, and it knows that technically, if it's a game, there will be a player, right? So go ahead and select the player for the tag and save that. Now, going back to the red rectangle, I'm going to create a new script for collision. And I'm going to add component. And this component is going to be the collision. So I'm going to call this one, that's going to be a script, so new script. And this script will take care of the collision. So I'm going to say trigger script, all right? And create and add. Now I'm going to double click on the trigger script, and I'm going to add the function that will take care of the trigger. And this function is called onTriggerEnter. So I don't need the start and the update, so I'm going to remove them and create it, void onTriggerEnter. That comes with Unity. It's part of the mono behavior, okay? And this needs another variable whenever you have the onTriggerEnter to be able to know to which object got collided to. And the trigger enter needs a collider here. Since we're in a 2D game, it will be collider 2D. And we're going to give it a name. I'm going to click other. So it is going to collide against another collider. So this will only work if the other object has a collider 2D. And guess what? If you take a look at, in Unity, take a look at the sphere, we have a circle collider. So it will recognize it, okay? So make sure you have the circle collider, otherwise it will never register the collision. All right. Going back to the script, what do? Well, we need to test. Whenever there's a collision, we say if other dot, now we can do dot game object dot tag equal to player with an uppercase P, then guess what? We know that we just collided against the main object, which is the sphere, right? So we can just say debug.log collision with the sphere player. Right? Good. And we can try this out. But before I do so, I'm going to go to the player script, and I'm going to remove the debug. We put a debug earlier here in the mouse button down. We don't need that right now, so I'm just going to uncomment it for now and save. All right. Now, if I go back to Unity, I'm going to press play, and we'll see that it will have the trigger. You guys ready? Okay, so script error, this message parameter has to be of type collider. Okay, so I need to go here, and it's on trigger enter 2D. That's what's going on because we're in a 2D world. That's what happened. So save that, and let's go back to Unity. Okay, so make sure you add the 2D world. Otherwise, it's going to complain like it just did. Let's press play, and let's see. It shouldn't complain. Very good. Now, if I press start, look, I'm just going up, and now I went through it, and it registered the collision. See, collision with sphere player twice because we went up through two times, upward and downward. All right, so it's registering it. That's great. Now, what we need to do is check for the colors, if the colors are the same or not. So how do we check for the colors? Well, the easiest way to check for the colors is to have to add a variable that stores the actual color right now. And one way to do that is to add this on the trigger script itself. So I'm going to click on the trigger script and add the color right here. So right inside of it, public color, and call it color. Okay. All right. And then I want to also assign a color at the beginning. So what I would do is add the start, void start. And in the start, I'm going to assign the color. I will do game object. So that's this game object dot get component. And the component is the 2D renderer. Now make sure that you have a sprite renderer inside of your rectangle as well. Okay, so sprite renderer dot color is equal to color. All right, that's it. Now I can save that. And now the beauty of this is that I can come and change the color from the script. You guys see that the color here? I can come here and change that to a different color. I can go and pick this red color. And now if I do that, check this out. It's already red, so you're not going to see much, but I can go and pick a blue color. Okay. And now if I press play, this will change to blue. Check this out. Actually, we don't see it. You know why? Because it has 0 alpha again. So put an alpha to be 255. Good. Now if I press, I'm going to change it to a lighter blue. Now if I press play, check this out. As you can see, the color changed to blue now. All right. Good. However, the color that we want to use are the colors that are inside of the manager. Okay, so we can only use these colors. So that's what I want to have. And to be able to do that, I just need to say which index I want to use instead of using the color. So I'm going to change the public color here to the index. And I'm going to create a new index that stores the colors that we have. So I'm just going to remove this and just put an index. And the index will be an enum. Now, how do I create the enum? First of all, to do so, let me remove this. Just comment this out for now. And I'm going to the manager reference and create an enumeration of colors. So public enum and call it color used. Okay. And inside of this, the color used, we need to say what colors we have. So the first color used would be, let's go and check it out. It's red, yellow, green, blue, and purple. So here I'm going to put red, then yellow, then green, then blue, then purple. Now I simplified it, but you can add more colors if you want later on, okay? So I have them, yep, in the right order, that's good. And make sure you save that and they have no errors. And the best way to check is to go back to Unity and see if you have any errors by clicking on the console. So far, so good, no errors. And now I can assign this to the trigger script and say public color used and call it color. Okay, and then now what we can do is do a switch on this. So right here at the beginning, let's get the color. Yes, so color index. Let me call it color used index. Okay, good. Now I'm going to save this and assign a color inside of Unity by clicking on the red rectangle. And now in the color index, I will choose a color. So I can go with green now. Excellent. All right. Now going back to MonoDevelop, what I want to do is switch on that color. And I need to do switch color index. Actually, we don't need, because the color index, we can get its value by just doing color index dot, and here you can do it. It's already an int, as you can see. Okay, so we can just leave it the way it is, and check this out. Since it's using the same one, we can get the reference from the manager reference. So manager references refs is equal to game object dot find, and we're going to find the manager object dot get the component that's the manager references. So far, so good. We've already done that earlier. Open and close the parentheses and put a semicolon at the end. Now that we have the refs, if refs is different than null, we always like to check just in case, but it should never be null anyway. And what we do is we assign the new color. So let's get the color. New color is equal to, and here we're going to use refs dot color, the colors, the object, and the index is the color index. All right, good. Now we can close that and we can save that. And we need to assign it to the renderer. So I'm going to cut this and paste it inside of this. All right, and here it will be new color. Okay, all right, everything should be fine. My only concern is that in the player script, we have, in the manager references, the enum color used might sometimes be used as a string. So we want to double check. It should be an int, but let's double check. Okay, I can save this. And now, if I go back to Unity and press play, as you can see, it cannot implicitly convert color used to int. So we have to cast it. I can just probably add an int in front of it. That should be okay. If not, I'll have to switch. Okay. Let's see now. Clear here. All right, and now I'm going to press play, and the color should go to green. And yep, it did it. All right, perfect. Now, if I click back on the red rectangle and I change the color, let's say to purple, guess what? If I press play, the color is purple. Okay, excellent. So now that's an easy way to switch that. And the reason why I created that as a script is that this script will work for not just bars, but for all types of objects. It could work for a circle, it can work for a rectangle, any shapes you like, it will work. Okay, excellent. Now, the next step is to do the logic. And the logic is to see if the color is the correct color. Now, a good way to do this is to test the colors and see if the colors are the same. So whenever we have the trigger, we can test it here. And how do we test it? Well, we're going to get the both colors and see. So let's get the color of the main object. If other dot, here we're going to get the color dot that would be dot game object dot get component, that's the sprite renderer dot color. If the color is different than this color used, which would be so it's probably easier if we just take the colors here. So player color player color is equal to this other.gameObject.getComponent.color. Okay, so I'm going to cut this and paste it here. Okay, so that's one thing we have. We have the other player color. Now let's get the color of this object, the one that's colliding with it. So color, and this color is equal to gameObject, or this.gameObject dot get component sprite renderer dot color. All right, now we have both colors. And now let's try in the if. So the if statement would be if player color is different than this color, and guess what? If the colors are different and they collided, then it's game over. To do game over. Now, meanwhile, what we can do is just print a message here by saying to the console debug.log game over. All right, let's save this and let's try it out. We press play. And now I see that the color of the object is, the sphere is yellow and this is purple. So if I touch it, it will be game over. So if I click on game and go up, look, I get a game over message. Okay, so that's when you will bring up the menu for game over. Excellent. But obviously, there's no way to win right now because the object is not moving, but we're going to make sure that it moves. All right, so now we're going to take care of making the object move left and right. And we're going to create a script to do so. Okay, now there are multiple ways to do that. You can create a script that says what is the range of left or right that it can move, or what is the direction that it's moving in. Okay, so let's go ahead and do a horizontal move. How do we do that? Well, we're going to create a new script. So inside of the red rectangle, I'm going to add a component, and I'm going to call this one horizontal movement, so new script, and the script name will be horizontal movement script. Okay, horizontal movement script, create and add. And now I'm going to double click on it to set it up, right? So to be able to set this up, I need to say how much distance can it go left and how much distance can it go right. And to be honest, we're going to assign this to the actual parent of this object. So it wouldn't be the red rectangle itself, it will be its parent. So I can go ahead and already remove that script from, so remove component from the red rectangle and add it to the horizontal bar. Add component and add the horizontal movement script. That's it. Now we're going to say how much left and right it will move and the direction. Okay, so public, let's create float values for that. So float, range, so range max, and let's put a default of, let's say, 10. Okay, that might be a bit too much, but that's good enough for now. And then we're going to put the direction. So public, float, direction. And by default, the direction would be 1, meaning that it goes right. But if I put a -1, it's going to go left. And now what I want to do is get the initial distance. Public, float, initial position. On the, since it's moving left and right, it's on the x-axis. Okay, how do I know that? Well, I can just take the bar and move the position left and right. Okay, so it's the x-axis. All right, so initial position x. Okay, now in the start, I'm going to do initial position x is equal to this dot transform dot position dot x. Okay, it's that easy. And now what I want to do is move the object. Now, how do I move the object? Well, I can go in the update and start moving it by doing this dot transform dot position dot, dot position is equal to new vector2. Why vector2? Because we're in 2D, and the vector would be the x, which would be this dot transform dot position dot x, plus what do we add here? We add the we're going to add an increment times the range. Okay, so that would be the direction times time dot delta time. So so we have the delta at which it's moving times the speed. So we're going to add a speed that we don't have yet. Okay, and then the y-axis won't move, so it's just this dot transform dot position dot y. Now let me press enter here so that you guys can easily see it. All right. So now we have the x and the y. The speed is red because we don't have it, so let's create the speed right above public float speed, and let's put the speed to, let's say, 100 for now, and let's save that. Okay, so now let's take a look at what's happening here. Now, I already know there's going to be some problems, but let's take a look at what we have. I'm going to Unity, and I'm going to press play and go to the scene so that you guys can see what's happening. Now, as you can see, the bar is nowhere to be seen because it's moving, but like super fast. And we can easily fix that by changing the speed. How do we change the speed? Well, we select the horizontal bar, and let's put a speed of, let's say, 1. Okay, and let's press play now. And check this out. If you go to the scene, okay, so just for the sake of learning, I'm going to move the camera so that we can see things better. Okay, so in the camera, I'm going to put the size a lot bigger so that we can have a better view of what's happening. All right, it might be a bit smaller, but it's better to see. Now I'm going to press play, and look, you guys see it's moving. Okay, so it's going to the right side. Now it's going a bit too slow, so I'll have to make it faster. But at some point, I want it to be moving back to the other direction. So I need to test the range that it's going at. Okay, so how do we do this? Well, we have the range max. So how much distance that it needs to move first, and the range max is 10 at first. So what we need to do is test it, and we can easily test that with where it is right now. Okay, and we can test it right below and say if we're going to test if it went too far. If this dot transform dot position dot x is greater than the initial position x plus the range max, then guess what? And if it's too much, then guess what? We change the direction. We change the direction to the opposite direction. Direction is equal to -1. And now we're going to try the other way. If this dot transform dot position dot x minus range max is, so the position minus the range max is, I'm sorry, if the position is less than the range max, than the initial position minus the range max, then that means that we need to change the position to the other side, which means the direction is equal to 1. All right, I'm not 100% sure here of the logic, so we're going to test that. I'm going to save this, and I'm going to try that. Going back to Unity, I'm going to make it go a little bit faster by selecting the horizontal bar, and at the speed, instead of being 1, I'm going to put it to 3. All right, I'm going to press play now, and let's see. So we see the bar that keeps going, and as soon as it hits the other side, then as soon as it hits the range, it goes to the other side. Now let's see, if it goes to -10, it should go, yep, that's perfect. Okay, so I can make it faster so that you guys can see it. Okay, so I'm increasing the speed. Okay, I see that a speed of 6 is pretty good. All right, excellent. So we're going to keep going with a speed of 6.5. That might be actually a bit too 5, so I'm going to go with 6. All right, so the speed would be 6. Excellent. And now what I want to do is create the same logic and add some more bars. So instead of the red rectangle, I'm going to duplicate that to create more bars. So I'm going to right-click and click on duplicate. Now I have, I'm going to go with different colors. So if I look at the manager, I'm going to go with red, yellow, green, blue, and purple. So this one would be yellow, rectangle. And for the yellow, what I'm going to do is select the yellow color by coming here and selecting yellow. This one should be red. Okay. Now, just for the sake of seeing it, the yellow, I'm going to put it yellow so that it's easier to see. Okay. All right. And the next step is to move it. So I'm going to move it a little bit to the right of this by moving the x-axis. All right, here we go. Now, the best would be probably to zoom in to make sure that it's exactly how you want it. But just for the sake of testing, I'm not going to go too crazy. As long as it looks good enough, that will do. You know, it's not going to be perfectly aligned, but that will do. Okay. Now, after the yellow, I need to go with green. So I'm going to duplicate the yellow, Command D, and call it green. green rectangle. And I'm going to change its color to green. Right, and select the color index to be green. Okay, and I'm going to move it to the right of it. Excellent. Now the next one will be the next color. So I'm going to duplicate the green, and the next color is blue. So I'm going to select it and select the blue color. All right, and the color index will be blue as well. And I need to move it as well. Excellent. Now, what I also need to do is add the last one and rename it. So this one will be the blue rectangle. And finally, the purple rectangle. So I'm going to duplicate this one, Command D, and name this one purple rectangle. And what I want to do is make it purple, obviously. And change the trigger script to purple and move it to the all the way to the right. Okay, that looks good. Now, something else I want to do is take all of these and duplicate them all. Okay, so one easy way to duplicate them all is to take the horizontal bar and duplicate the horizontal bar itself by pressing Command D. There we go. And I'm going to move this horizontal bar to the right side of this. Okay, here we go. Now, they both are moving by a range of max of 10. So let's go ahead and try this. So I'm going to press play. And now let's take a look at this. So as you can see, it's moving. And the display is a 16th by 9. But I could definitely do a different one, let's say a 4:3. As you can see, it's a bit different. Or even a free aspect. It's up to us at this point. But if I want to go for iPhones, I will have to change the logic here. But so far, we can see how things are moving, so we can try the game. And as you can see, it says game over. So it's going to be very difficult, but that's the gist of it. So now we have the logic. I have to wait to go through only the green, okay? So what we'll have to play here is with the range. We probably want to have a range of, instead of 10, I can have a range of 15 in both of them. And I can also probably slow down or accelerate, but you'll have to try and see which one would be the best. But again, I'm going to put the camera to be closer this time. So the size of the camera, I'm going to put the size lower so that we can see better. Here we go. And I'm going to make the ball a little bit easier to move. So I'm going to take the sphere and play with the gravity. Instead of a gravity scale of 1.5, I'm going to put a gravity scale of 0.6 so that it doesn't go down as fast. Okay, so we'll have more control this way. As you can see, I have a lot more control and I'll have to go through this. Okay, so that's the gist of it. And we're done right now with the horizontal bars. We can easily duplicate them. I can select both bars, press Command D to duplicate them, and then move them up. It's that easy. I can just move them up here and then move them a little bit to the side so that the game is a little bit more enticing. Okay, so now if I press play, check this out. I easily have another bar. All right, you guys see that? Okay, cool, very cool. Okay, so I'm going to take a break for now. And there's plenty of other things we can do, such as scoring and gaining points, and obviously adding different types of bars or circles and so on. But already it's starting to look just like the original game. All right.